about the toxicology of tobacco. It is part 2 of the video. If you guys don't have seen part 1 of the video, first of all see that part. After that you will understand this concept. So let's begin with our complications of tobacco use. So smoking decreases the basically blood chain of the we can say blood supply to the brain, and it also constrict the blood vessels, and it also cause atherosclerosis. If you guys know what is atherosclerosis is a clot formation. Oh, so the next thing is it can cause the cancer of the tongue, even salivary gland, mouth, pharynx, and even you can say it is the reason for the brown teeth. Actually, those who use tobacco or smoke a lot got their teeth color changed into brown. So the third thing is it will cause lung cancer and emphysema also. Do you guys know what is emphysema? Okay, before emphysema I will tell you about a condition that is bronchitis. So first of all, if someone is smoking too much tobacco, then he can get acute bronchitis. After acute bronchitis there will be chronic bronchitis. After that the person can get emphysema. Emphysema is a stage in which you can say there is a irreversible stage that if someone is having bronchitis then it can be cured, but in emphysema state the lungs had got damaged. The next thing is nicotine causes the blood clots and development of plaque, which can even lead to the risk of heart attack. Like I told you about atherosclerosis, it is a clot formation inside your heart muscle. So the next is it can cause esophageal cancer, stomach cancer and kidney cancer. So esophageal cancer is also common among the smokers. So next point is that poor blood circulation is also there, and it will damage the blood vessels that lead to the death of body tissues. And if there will be death of body tissues, there will be increased risk of gangrene. Now it can also cause osteoporosis. If it is exposed to the eye, then it can cause irritation to the eyes, like some people do smoke, and even they also get red eyes because of the irritation of that smoking, or even you can say there will be abrasion, even pain in the eyes due to the smoke, redness. As I told you, there will be blurred vision after smoke, or you can say after heavy use of tobacco. Headache is most common in smokers. Actually, someone who smokes will really get a headache. Next is pathophysiology. So first of all, there will be frequent exposure to a substance of abuse. After that, it will lead to the alteration of neurons in your brain, or you can say at cellular or molecular level. After that, it will result into physiological alteration, and your behavior will also associate in it, and it will also cause some behavioral problems, you can say withdrawal symptoms. After that, the people will get tolerant about that drug, so he will need more and more dose to get high, or you can say to get normal. First of all, people do drugs, or you can say smoke, for getting high or getting a euphoria feeling. After that, after some time, when the body become tolerant to that drug, then they need large amount of the drug to get high. So this is the main cause. The people increase their doses of whatever they are doing. There would be sensitization also. As I told you, dependence would be there because dose is increasing regularly. There will be withdrawal symptoms also. If the drug is withdrawn from the patient, there will be craving, and even stress problems are also will be there. Next, a question arises in the mind that how carbon monoxide affect our body. So when carbon monoxide enters the lungs through breathing, it binds with hemoglobin in red blood cells to make carboxyhemoglobin. So what happens here? Carboxyhemoglobin, which is then transported into the bloodstream. So carboxyhemoglobin gets to your bloodstream. After that thing, the main thing occurs that oxygen cannot bind with receptor on the same cells because there will be carboxyhemoglobin. So after that, carbon monoxide is much faster and binding with hemoglobin than oxygen. So here you can see it has a fastest speed than oxygen. You can say 200 times faster. It is too much fast. So when carbon monoxide is present in the lungs, it wins the spot on the red blood cell. So this process diminishes the oxygen carrying capacity in the bloodstream. So when the carbon monoxide will bind to that receptor, then how could the oxygen would bind to that receptor? And even the speed of binding to the receptor in carbon monoxide is too high. So the normal level of carboxyhemoglobin in the bloodstream from environmental exposure to carbon monoxide is less than 1%. And if we talk about the smokers, the level of carboxyhemoglobin saturation in the blood is much higher than those who do not smoke, because in smoke there will be lot of carbon monoxide entering into your lungs. Factors including brand, number of cigarettes smoked, and the amount of time after saturation level. Do you heard about a cigarette Navy cut? I think the AIIMS have especially mentioned that we do not treat a patient who smokes Navy cut. That is an example of a brand. That brand also affects in that. So next, how tar affect on our body. So tar starts its damaging work in the mouth by rotting and blackening teeth. As I told you, the person who keep smoke regularly will got their teeth blacked or brown. So it also damage gums. Even gums get black. The people who smoke regularly, you can easily see on their gums getting black. And it also desensitize the taste bud. You can say if someone is smoking regularly, then he would have a problem in guessing the taste of things he is eating. And it forms a tacky brown or yellow residue on the inside of the lungs. It damages the cilia, which helps to keep our airway clean. So here you can also see if our airway could not be cleaned because the damage of the tar is done on the cilia. So it will allow all toxins to travel freely into the lungs, or you can say there will be no filtration, or you can say there is no cleaning of the airway. So it can cause lung cancer, emphysema and other lung disease, as I told you. So now diagnosis. So acute poisoning can be confirmed by estimating plasma nicotine level, but the short half-life of nicotine necessitates early withdrawal of blood. So high pressure liquid chromatography is generally utilized to assay nicotine levels. So plasma level greater than 40 to 50 indicates serious toxicity. So polymorphonucleus leukocytosis and glycosuria are often encountered in nicotine overdose. So passive smoking, if we talk about the passive smoking, I think most of you guys think that passive smoking is not harmful to us. But the thing is that passive smoking is also harmful to us. Actually, according to some research or according to some survey, passive smoking is more harmful than direct smoking. So passive tobacco smoke exposure is usually determined by estimating cotinine levels in plasma, urine and saliva. So urine cotinine is also used as an index to nicotine exposure in tobacco workers, because they do not use tobacco but they work in the tobacco industry. So they have to check regularly that if they are getting some disease or due to some tobacco exposure. So they check the exposure of the tobacco in their body. with urine continin. So next is treatment. So for acute poisoning, mild overdoses require only observation for 4 to 6 hours, after which patient can be discharged. So here you can see in acute poisoning, there would be hospitalization for 4 to 6 hours for the observation purpose. After that, we can easily discharge the patient. So in serious overdose, decontamination by stomach wash is used. So they try to decontaminate it by stomach wash, and emesis is also contraindicated. Activated charcoal is also effective in that case and must be administered in the usual manner. So since nicotine is weakly alkaline, excretion can be enhanced by acidification of urine, but it can aggravate the condition of a convulsing patient in whom there is rhabdomyolysis. So if we talk about the symptomatic and supportive measure, so we can give patient benzodiazepines if he is showing some convulsive effect, and we can also give him atropine for bradycardia if his heartbeat is, you can say, too slow. So IV fluids for vasopressor for hypertension. IV fluids can also give. So respiratory compromise is managed by oxygen, intubation and positive pressure ventilation. Chronic poisoning. So it is the last part. Nicotine withdrawal must be treated by a combination of therapies including psychological, psychopharmacological and nicotine replacement. So next thing is nicotine replacement therapy. The rationale behind nicotine replacement is to prevent or relieve nicotine withdrawal symptoms while stopping smoking behavior by replacing it with another behavior. So in this case I will give you an example of I think you guys have heard about Nicotex chewing gums. So these are for the smokers, or you can say heavy smokers. It have a, I can say, good amount of nicotine in it, but the thing is that if someone is using nicotine replacement therapy, or you can say, if you simply say Nicotex, then the thing is that if he is consuming too much chemicals when he was smoking cigarettes, and when he is using Nicotex, he is only consuming Nicotex due to his addiction. So that thing will decrease the, you can say, side effects, or decrease the effects of the smoking, harmful effects we can say. Yeah, it will decrease the harmful effects of the smoking. Nicotine replacement therapy. So here is an example of nicotine gum. The first nicotine preparation that was made available for use is the nicotine gum. Approximately 50 to 70% of the nicotine is absorbed through the buccal mucosa, while additional amounts are absorbed through swallowed saliva. So peak plasma concentration is reached within 50 to 30 minutes after starting to chew the gum, as compared with 1 to 2 minutes after initiating smoking. So here you can say there is also a difference between the peak plasma concentration. If a person is smoking, then the peak plasma concentration will be 1 to 2 minutes, and if a person is chewing gum or you can say chewing Nicotex gum, then after that he will reach the peak plasma concentration in 50 to 30 minutes. The person have to wait for 15 to 30 minutes to get that much high when while he was smoking. So that is also a reason that people don't want to stop smoking, because it gives them, you can say, instant effect. Chewing the gum too rapidly and vigorously can raise nicotine concentrations to the uncomfortable levels, producing adverse effect. So you can say chewing too much gums can also increase the adverse effect, or you can say it will also cause the tobacco poisoning if someone is chewing it too much. It is also, some patients also smoke while they chew the gum, so it is so harmful. So people should not do that thing. If the gum is inadvertently swallowed, there is no cause for undue concern, since the nicotine is released and absorbed slowly, producing only low blood concentration. The actual efficacy of nicotine gum and the dose and the duration of therapy are highly variable, or you can say it is highly variable in different companies' products. So next is nicotine transdermal patch. So the disadvantage of nicotine gum: frequent administration, unsightly chewing, or even you can say Nicotex have a bad taste. People also feel nausea and you can say dyspepsia. So with the help of nicotine transdermal patch, these side effects or disadvantages of nicotine gum are avoided. So which is available as nicotine releasing adhesive patches for varying sizes and delivery rates. The nicotine is released either directly through the skin or through the membrane system in contact with the skin. Side effects are mild and include dose related sleep disturbances, dyspepsia, myalgias, and it can also increase cough. Next is nicotine spray. It is available as a metered dose inhaler containing 100 mg of nicotine at 10 mg per ml, designed to deliver 200 equivalent puffs, each releasing 0.5 mg of nicotine. So absorption occurs through the nasal mucosa, which may be affected to some extent in the presence of rhinitis. So the recommended dose is 2 sprays, one in each nostril, every half an hour or 1 hour, subject to a maximum of 40 doses in any 24 hours. So there is a limit of 40 doses, or you can say 80 puffs in 24 hours. So there are also some other therapies like clonidine is also used. Clonidine is an alpha 2 adrenergic agonist. So that has been found useful in the treatment of clonidine is effective for most withdrawal syndromes because it inhibits noradrenergic neurons. The usual dose recommended is 150 to 200 microgram per day for 1 month. So I have also heard that the clonidine is also used in some opioid withdrawal in acute cases. It is also used as a withdrawal syndrome treatment drug. So the next thing is antidepressant. So since when someone stops smoking, so he will got some depressed. So you can say the dopamine level will go down and he will feel depressed. So we can give him antidepressants such as doxepin and sertraline. It has also scientists has also tried these drugs, and these are good for combating nicotine withdrawal. So next is nicotine agonist and antagonist. These drugs have the potential to block the effect of nicotine, that is removing its reinforcing effect on smoking behavior.